Okay. So please welcome Himanshu sir once again. He's back.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thanks a lot, Kislay ji, to organize this meeting in Korea with
Thank
our
you. Thank you.
friends, Indian community.
Yes. So I welcome all of our dear panelists and attendees. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning from wherever you have connected to our talk. It is my extreme pleasure to host all of you today on this occasion of 151st anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. And I would also like to announce, as I said before, that we would be also announcing the formation of our Indian Overseas Congress South Korea chapter, about which Shri Himanshu Vyas ji will speak more, and he will talk to our NRIs regarding that. So when we talk about Gandhi, we just don't talk about a person. We talk about an ideology. We talk about a philosophy, a whole set of philosophy, a way of life. We talk about indomitable principles of peace and nonviolence. We talk about principles of religious pluralism. We talk about political tolerance, which is very much required in today's scenario in India. And we talk about sacrifice and love. We talk about social and cultural inclusion. When we talk about Gandhi, we talk about self-respect and dignity to all forms of life, about minimalism, about simple living and high thinking, and a valorous courage of fighting injustice of all sorts in this world. Today, Gandhian philosophy has become increasingly relevant than ever before because of the threats that the contemporary world is facing. For example, threats like World War, which cannot be ruled out, nuclear war, the threat of climate change, which is looming over our head, new diseases like the pandemic going on currently, and the challenges of tomorrow, where unequal distribution of the global wealth and lack of global equity may cause human beings to suffer a problem which we have not known so far. So Gandhian philosophy has become increasingly relevant in those manners, and this is a matter of wonder that Mahatma Gandhi, a century back, had an answers to all of these problems we are facing today in the contemporary world. So without taking much time, let me introduce our panelists today, who would be speaking about the aspect of Gandhian philosophy and talking about their own perceptions, that how these philosophies could be applicable to the problems of this world we are living in today. And I would also like to say that it has been a tradition of Congress Party to keep the discussions very open and include all sorts of people from all backgrounds. So we have also inherited this from our political ancestors, and we have brought in a panel from which has got people from political party, academia, from think tank, and from corporate. So Mr. James Ahn, our very esteemed guest today, would be joining us at around 5:30 p.m. according to the Korean time. So in a couple of minutes. Let me welcome our first and a very esteemed panelist, Shri Himanshu Vyas, who is the AICC Secretary in charge for Indian Overseas Congress. Shri Himanshu Vyas is a veteran Congress leader, and he is a former spokesperson of Gujarat Congress as well. Next, we have Mr. Garangadas. Shri Gouranga is an economist by profession. He has worked at Monash University, Melbourne, Australia, and University of Florida. Amongst other, he has also worked in International Monetary Fund and UN University at Finland. He has published books and papers on issues of intersections of economic growth, globalization, and development. And he has attended the Harvard Kennedy School twice too. We have on our panel Mr. James Ahn, who has been advisor to top semiconductor companies like LG and Samsung, and he is the top man in the field of solar energy. So let me read out his introduction for you. Just kindly give me a minute. Actually, I got to know about Mr. James Ahn, joining our webinar last midnight. So I couldn't prepare his name. I couldn't put his name in the poster because it was already created. So Mr. James Ahn, his alumnus of University of Cincinnati. He did his material science. He did his PhD in material science and engineering from the University of Cincinnati. He has also been an alumnus of Postek, KAIST, which are one of the top universities of South Korea. He is the CEO and chairman of Dalim Global Company Limited at present, and he is also the CEO of Soft PV Inc. from 2017 till present. Mr. An is also a CEO of Sun Communication. He was a CEO of Sun Communication from 2009 to 2017. So he has also been working with LG Chemicals. He has been working as a senior advisor for renewable energy with Little Korea. And so this is the strong profile of Mr. James An. He'll be joining us shortly. And then we have our fourth speaker, Dr. Lakwinder Singh, who is the director of Peace Program at Asia Institute, which is a think tank based in Seoul. Mr. Singh is a firm believer of Gandhian principles and has been living in Korea since last 24 years. He has more than 300, yes, he has more than 300 articles and papers to his credit. And Dr. Singh is an expert of international relations, especially in regards to international relations between India and Korea. He's an India-Korea relations expert. And he was recently conferred upon honorary citizenship for Korea for his extraordinary efforts in the field of strengthening India-Korea ties. And the defense minister of South Korea fondly calls him father of India-Korea relation. Dr. Singh believes that Mahatma Gandhi has a remarkable role to play on the in Korean Peninsula, which is under constant threat of nuclear war and has undergone pain of the partition. So let me welcome our first speaker, our first panelist, our very dear leader, Shri Himanshu Vyas, for keeping his words. And I would also request him to say a few words about Indian Overseas Congress South Korea chapter and talk to our NRIs regarding that. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Kislay ji, for organizing this webinar with our Indian friends in Korea. First of all, I would wish your recovery of your father immediately, and you can go back to Korea with our friends again.
Thank you very much.
I also, I'm very happy to see Dr. Das and Shri Lakhvinder Singh ji on the screen very well. Really, we are fortunate to have them on our panel. Today is a very auspicious day for us because it's a Mahatma Gandhi's Jayanti, 2nd October, and we are starting a Congress ideology, Indian Overseas Congress on the day of Mahatma Gandhi's Jayanti. You have really done good to organize and gather our friends to join Indian Overseas Congress. Because at the end of the day, apart from party, Congress is an ideology. Congress is a movement which we started in the country by Mahatma Gandhi, because we have gone through many rules like Mughals and Britishers. But after freedom, we have really got something to develop our own. And Mahatma Gandhi gave us the base. He has not only fought the British Raj, but he has fought other evils of the society. He was believing in secularism. He is strongly against Ashprushata. He is strongly for the pro-poor. He is strongly for the Kisan. He always says that India's villages are the heart of India. So these are all other things which is also a Gandhian ideology. And today Gandhian ideology is really relevant because we are watching the world today. Big problem of terrorism, big threat of wars. Even we are facing today, India-China war is a threat for us. Because every day we are getting different type of news from China border and Ladakh. Today, after COVID-19, there are further more issues because it is one type of a bio war, one type of a threat to the whole human lives. So we are passing through all these problems during this time, and really we should remember Mahatma Gandhi. Simple living, truthfulness, honesty, non-violence, and use what you have in your backyard. Use what you have in your village. Don't go for much urbanization. Urbanization is necessity today, but don't go blindly behind urbanization. So these are all issues. Furthermore, on peace and everything, Lakhvinder ji will tell us after COVID what will be the situation of economy. Dr. Das will tell us. And I am very happy today that my friend James Han is also joining us. James is a very close friend of mine, and I have given him an Indian name. Whenever he will introduce to you, he will say, I am Jatin Bhai. So he's very proud that, whenever he comes to India and I introduce to somebody, he will shake hand and say, I am Jatin. So I'm also happy that somebody, feeling that when he comes to India, he feels that I am also like India. So I told Kislay ji yesterday night that is it possible that James also can join us? So it will be a new introduction to our friends also with him. And he is really a good guy, very good nature, very literate man, well educated, good in business, influence in Korea. So I told him that Mahatma Gandhi, you read something from Google. He said, no, Himanshu Bhai. I have gone through autobiography. I have read autobiography of Gandhiji. So don't tell me to read Google. I say, okay. So he's that much, curious about all these things. Anyway, I don't want to take much of your time, but I once again appreciate Kislay to organize this thing. I wish you all the best to start Indian Overseas Congress in Korea. Dr. Sam Pitroda is very happy to hear this news. Sometime in a big gathering, we will invite Sam sir also to talk to us. So it will be good for you guys, and you organize your calendar for 1 year that on different occasion you will do something as an Indian Overseas Congress.
Yes.
Basically, we are not going to influence foreign policy of India to Korea. This is not our job. We are expatriates, our people, those who are staying abroad. We connect them. We connect them with their roots. We connect their second generation to these roots. And we keep our culture alive we keep our ethics alive in different countries. So today we are more than 22 countries very active as an Indian Overseas Congress. We do not take political part of their country's program, no. It is completely a culturally, historically, ethically, and one type of brotherhood, what we can say, want to create in different countries as an Indian. We have to keep our identity as an Indian. We enjoy our different festivals outside the country. We take sometime our political leaders and talk to our people on Zoom conference these days. So it will be one type of a family outside India. And I'm very happy that in South Korea we are there. And I have also visited North Korea once. As a youth Congress delegation, I have been to Pyongyang for 15 days. So when I heard that South Korea and North Korea are getting together, once it was a attempt by both the countries, I was very happy. So anyway, thank you again to invite me on the this conference, and I would like to hear our learned people from Korea. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for speaking and coming and joining us. and your words regarding Indian Overseas Congress as well. I'm sure we'll be able to come up to your expectations, and whatever we can do. Of course, we are planning to be very active in different cultural programs and other things. So thank you once again. And now I would like to hand over the screen to Dr. Gouranga Das. So I have already given the introduction of Dr. Das. So may I request Dr. Das to please come on the screen. Dr. Das, are you there?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I just unmuted. Okay.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kislay Kumar. Thank you, Mr. Himanshu Vyas, for attending this webinar. I'm really grateful to Kislay Kumar for having me in this panel. It's my privilege. A special mention goes to him because in his unrelenting support for last several days, despite my misgivings, and also I was quite happy to hear Mr. Vyas's comments on their agenda of introducing Indian Overseas Congress here, and with the lofty ideals. So, as the theme of this panel relates to contemporary world and the relevance of Gandhiji in the contemporary world, with special reference to, as Mr. Kislay Kumar mentioned yesterday afternoon, the Kishan Farmer Bill, the controversial bill which has been introduced very recently. I haven't read much about this because it's a pretty recent phenomena, but because this is a subtopic of this webinar, I would try to reflect on some of the aspects related to that, as it is related to the controversies. And Gandhiji has a big ideas in terms of Sharbodaya, self-reliance, truth, apart from this ahimsa or non-violence thing. So it would be injustice not to touch upon the farmers' bill aspect in this presentation. Now, before this presentation, I would like to say that I don't really confine. I'm not a Gandhian expert. I'm really staunch follower of Gandhian philosophy, because I like the non-violence and ahimsa and that aspect, the peace thing, and also, several philosophies, as Kislay mentioned just a few minutes back, about religious tolerance, pluralism, equity, inclusiveness, and all sorts of things that we see in this world is really important and utter necessity. And also the role of Gandhiji in Korean unification. And I know Professor Singh for long, and Professor Singh is a strong exponent in this regard. This peacekeeping thing in the Korean Peninsula. He's a strong supporter of Gandhian philosophy. I admire his, hard work and sincerity, his scholarship in this regard. Also, as Mr. Vyas has mentioned in his speech, that secularism, fighting evils, and untouchability, pro-pure policy, all these lie in the domain of Gandhian philosophy. That's really remarkable thing. And we should think twice, whether Gandhi is relevant today. Those who try to make Gandhi irrelevant, apart from political ideology or this political spectrum. So I would situate my discussion from a non-partisan, non-political ideology based, like a pure academic point of view, apolitical point of view. And also at this moment we are passing through a trying time, because the COVID crisis, the pandemic led severe economic crisis, which has erupted into several social crises. I will touch upon those points here also. Okay, as Mr. Vyas has mentioned. So with a wider lens, we cannot really set aside Gandhian philosophy from other visionaries in the Indian subcontinent. So one of which is, everybody knows, and in Korea very popular, is Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore's idea. Not because I'm from Calcutta, but he's a strong supporter of Gandhian philosophy as well, despite differences. Big minds always has differences. So he had that, but they were quite supportive of this non-violence idea with a different kind of channels or mechanisms. And also in the context of farmers' bill, Tagore has a great vision because his university, Vishwabharati University, which was established in West Bengal in the Birbhum district, he has an agricultural institute as well. He was very much in support of cooperative farming to protect the farmers' interests. And Gandhiji was also strong proponent of that kind of view. So, so I would situate my discussion in the context of Tagore and Gandhi. And couple of days back, it was 200 birth anniversary. I don't know whether, I mean, many of you might have observed this. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Vidyasagar was, you know, the great educator and the liberation of women because he arranged, you know, the marriage of the widowed, you know, during the Satidaha system in India, and he was the father of Bengal Renaissance following Raja Ram Mohan Rai. So Vidyasagar, Tagore, Gandhi, they have their own visions, but they merge and they converge at some point, which we need at this moment, at this critical juncture, where we see, as Kislay mentioned, about, you know, religious pluralism or religious intolerance. So I would say that, you know, the context of discussion in general, with pertinence to especially India, and drawing lessons from South Korea as the topic of this webinar. But I would say at the outset that it is our incapability to truly reflect the lofty ideals, the philosophies, the visions, morality, ethics, and justice from all these stalwarts, not only Gandhi and Tagore, but Vidyasagar, even Vivekananda. I mean, those we are talking about Vivekananda's idea of Hinduism or anything, but it was much liberal than that. So this is very important to see. So you need to really revisit them. So this webinar is very pertinent. Now, as we are talking about the contemporary world, so therefore I cannot really set aside the COVID, and we try to link it up to whether it is, you know, Gandhi is relevant in the context of COVID-19. I mean, we would say no. But as things are unfolding recently and right now, it has deep-rooted, you know, long time embedded in the event since last many years. So, but we are seeing the manifestations right now is more virulent and more tragic. But in different degrees, it existed long time. And it's sad now to see how some countries like India are regressing while we are having good effects. Those are being undone. So in this contemporary world, we really need these philosophies. Now, contemporary world is facing multiple disequilibrium. As I'm from economics background, we always talk about equilibrium, which is a kind of, you know, satisfaction of everybody in the society. So now the contemporary world is facing a lot of disequilibrium phenomena, causing a lot of failures in the market system as well. So firstly, the pandemic-led disaster, which led to twin crisis, which is health and wealth crisis, where all the economies are suffering from deep recession, and the projection is for a, you know, negative growth of GDP, as the IMF projects about 10% or so. In case of India, it was in the last quarter minus 23.9%. which was abnormally negative, and which we never experienced in Indian, you know, economic history. So this is affecting not only India, but whole world. So the contemporary world is facing deep downturn in terms of typical development parameters like GDP, GNI, and human capital indicators. Now, all these made us thinking about the impending existential threat from globalization, because through globalization, the disease has also the face, it has spread all over the world. So the interconnectedness and flatness of the world, the disease is globalized via flow of people, flow of goods, and flow of goods and proximity of humans, and therefore international trade and global supply chain have been disrupted. Now, we see that since its appearance in December 29 until September 2020, or August 10th, 2020, the data that I have, the virus has already infected 20 million people, with 750,000 people worldwide dead. So the fear of infection and government-imposed lockdown has taken a toll in the global economy. So India had this lockdown phase in 21st of March for 21 days, something like that, and that caused huge downturn in the economic activity. Now, with this kind of strategies where our health and wealth are affected, this is not just because of a simple phenomena occurring in a remote province in China, Wuhan province. It has a long, deep-rooted thing which is embedded in our, as Kislay mentioned, in the climate, environment, our resources, misallocation of those things. So it's a huge multi-dimensional crisis which has manifested or erupted at this present juncture. So we just cannot set our liability or responsibility aside by blaming on one country or one province. So it's a culmination of facts. So therefore, the twin crisis that with which I started my talk is health and wealth, now had another dimension, which is the triple crisis. So that is the climate crisis or the climate disaster. That's why we had this Amphan. Everybody knows the bad effect of Amphan and these, the virulent, the typhoon and everything. And many people were displaced in Bangladesh and India, especially in Calcutta. So this climate change, this disease outbreak, health crisis, public health management, everything is the outcome of many kind of wrong policies. And Gandhiji and Tagore and all other visionaries have warned long time in different ways that we have to protect our society, our natural capital and environment without, unbridled growth and greed. Okay, so there is a quotation by Gandhiji that our greed is I just to remember that one, that the greed of ourselves which is uncontrolled cause this kind of trouble. And Gandhiji was very much in proponent of agriculture, Sarvodaya movement, self-reliance, but he was not against the mechanization as such. So, where mechanization is needed, that has to be there. But without mechanization, if we can develop ourselves, then that is best for the interest of the poor people. So, in case of the success in controlling COVID-19, so we see we should learn from the experience of the nations which performed well. So basically the 3D nations, like dazzling nations, which South Korea, Taiwan, and Vietnam. So India has a lot of things to learn from them. And the dancing nations who are doing better, not the best like South Korea, Taiwan, like Indonesia and others. And India is basically among these 3D are the depressing ones, India, Brazil, Russia, like that, and even US was there. So Korea and India with mutual cooperation can draw from each other from controlling this crisis. And we all know this crisis is going to be there forever. So I want to mention that these life-changing historical events like COVID-19 has significant effects on individual conflict, and the conflict resolution is very important. So that is one aspect where Gandhian idea of ahimsa non-violence could be effective. Secondly, we have these triple crisis, which I mentioned before. Then these two are related to the erosion of natural capital, our environment, land use, deforestation, on which Gandhi and Tagore has written at length, lot of works. So definitely those are relevant. And Tagore was very much a proponent of Bona Mahotsav, so the festival for planting trees. And the third aspect that we see at this moment in the contemporary world is the role of financial capital and spread of capitalism causing unbridled growth. That does not mean that capitalism is bad, but if it at the expense of natural capital, then it is bad. So growth is a means to an end. So we should have sustainable and inclusive development with balances of natural, social, and physical capital. That's why we had the previous crisis in 2008 and 9, which is the global financial crisis. And then the fourth aspect in this contemporary world that I figure out is the erosion of social conscience and consciousness. That's the social capital. That's what Dr. Raghuram Rajan at University of Chicago, who was one time RBI governor, Reserve Bank of India governor, has mentioned as the third pillar of our society. That is very important. It's unfortunate he left the country, but he wrote a very recent monograph called Third Pillar. So where he talked about the development of the society, the cooperation between, the individuals and the government as well. So what we see these days are violence based on gender, race, religion, caste, class conflicts, elements of terrorism, as Mr. Vyas has mentioned just a few minutes back, and the politics which is gripping us. So that is not good. So with no bias, no ideology, no political superstition, and from neutral point of view, the evidences and hard facts honored these atrocities in India and also some parts of the world, which is very unfortunate. So this is related to the point of conflict that I mentioned. So we are facing in this contemporary world, as the theme of this webinar is, the pandemic-induced health crisis, economic crisis, social crisis, and moral crisis. So it's a really multidimensional crisis point. We are really on the cusp of changes where we need not only economic policies like fiscal and monetary policies or stimulus package, but also we need a social policy where we feel as a social being, as a human being, as together, so that we avoid this conflict, and where we avoid this violence and embrace non-violence. Herein lies the deep-rooted significance of, stalwarts like Gandhiji, Tagore, Vidyasagar, and not only that, much more we had in independence, like, the Bengal Renaissance, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, were influenced by Derozio. Okay, so if we look at our history, we have deep-rooted culture and history wherefrom we still can derive and contextualize the lesson in the current context without forgetting the past, because the past builds the present, and on the basis of the present, we form our future. So our future depends on the present, which depends on the past. So therefore, definitely these visions are really, really important. We should not throw away and just embrace anything just for gimmick. So the main things are human development, peace, shared prosperity. Now, in case of peace, the idea of well-being via non-violence, ahimsa, is very important for emancipation and not profit maximization or shareholder values. That's there, but that does not lead us anywhere. That this world is showing us. It has shown us in global financial crisis, 2008-9. So we need to really change, everybody in the whole world, not only India, but everybody, and this trust, morality, and peace. So Gandhi's idea of Sarvodaya, Swadeshi, and Satyagraha are the three core principles, not just taken from his autobiography or his great preaching, but to put in practice. We preach a lot, but we don't practice a lot. That's the problem of this hiatus or gap between practice and preaching. That is very important at this juncture. And then all these lofty economic policies has to be grounded in this philosophy. Like I think Korea has done a great deal. That's why, because our discussion is in the context of Korea and India. I think Korea, back in 1960s, Korea's GDP per capita was $82 in 1961. Can you imagine? And as of 2019 and 2020, you see it's reaching, it's one of the top OECD countries with almost $40,000. And look at India and having such rich history and philosophy where we are. So that means we are missing something. We have missed and we are losing something. That's why we are having atrocities in the Vishwabharati University campus or any campus, or we are losing the, true human capital through the loss of education and health and everything. So the pandemic crisis is basically an eye-opener that you just don't blame on others, just like it happening in any province. It could happen in any time. Maybe in another time when pandemic is gone, another pandemic is hitting us, and then we'll again blame ours that, okay, we were not ready for this help. So it's time to revisit what mistake we have done and embrace the visionaries and their philosophy like Gandhi, Tagore, Vidyasagar, and India has lot, even Vivekananda, without misquoting Vivekananda, without, understanding the philosophy of Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. They're quite liberal-minded people, intellectuals. So we embrace the truth, the Satyagraha, and the Sarvodaya, and Swadeshi and exchange. Now, coming back to this, because it's a short time, I'm taking too much time probably, so please forgive me if I take too much time. So in the context of the current Krishi bill, because that is a subtopic, as I promised Kishalai that I will touch upon something on it. So this Krishi bill, I did a little bit of research on contract farming. And I published several papers from UN and other, and in some journals. So as I understand from the face of it, so I quote from a newspaper that the idea of this Krishi bill and farm bill is farmers sell their produce directly to private buyers by entering into a contract with private companies to stimulate growth via investment. Now, last 7 years, government's project was to double the farmers' income, but already 4 years gone, but not yet. So we have to do something hurriedly. Okay, my point from a neutral point of view as an academician is that agriculture contributes 15% of our 2.3 trillion Indian economy, because this farmers bill is related to Indian economy. So the discussion is now shifting from contemporary world to Indian context, definitely, as the topic is. And India agriculture contributes 15%, but it employs about 50% of 1.3 billion Indian consumers. You see how big is the source of employment, but how small is the contribution of agriculture, because the gradual, rise of manufacturing and more servitization of the economy because of IT or whatever technological boom has happened, and restructuring of the macroeconomy. Now, now coming to my point here is, we had, as I know from the brief history of this contract farming, we had an Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee, APMC Act in 1964. And that acted as an intermediaries to sell harvest to state-run company or mandis, the marketplace. There was minimum support price, and that act was amended in 2003 with little bit of some provisions for contract farming. And if you look at the growth in agriculture, there are huge disparities. For example, Bihar from 2001 to 2016-17 has agricultural growth of 2.04%. compared to the national average of, I think, 3.12%. So there are discrepancies across the state, okay? And not all the agricultural, the farmers are benefiting across the region. Punjab is different. We have the green revolution there, the capital is farming and mechanization of agriculture happened. All those, nice stories of high-yielding variety seeds and fertilizer. It's a beautiful role model of agricultural productivity. Now, after this APMC Act, the Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee Act, there was a lot of debate about, there are a lot of problem about these intermediaries and the right share of the farmers. So Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare had this Contract Farming Act 2018. But that act has a lot of bureaucratic loopholes. So that's why this policy, I guess. But from the economic point of view, just forgetting about political point of view or just, rebellion, from economic point of view, this kind of model, this kind of farming model from a microeconomic perspective has a lot of sources of market failure. Why? Because there is a case of monopsony that we often teach in, typical undergraduate microeconomics or even postgraduate, that one buyer, but many small heterogeneous competitive farmers who are poor. And Mr. Vyas mentioned about pro-poor policies. So it is very much important to look at them. So one buyer, many small heterogeneous sellers with crop varieties. The buyer has enough role, even if you just forget about reality, theoretically can exploit. So there is sources of market failure and unequal bargaining power. APMC has that problem too. Then you have information asymmetry from both sides, because the farmers may produce bad quality potatoes and sell it, or good quality, and you can cite sell. So the government has a very good role, not just passing the act and passing the bill, but as an enabler to to enable appropriate technology like seeds, fertilizer, irrigation, so that we don't have suboptimal outcomes. So the role, I think, as an academic, I should say, regarding this Krishi bill or farmers bill, that the government has to find out the binding constraint of strong market linkage, agricultural supply chain or value chain, so that agribusiness are developed, and farmers as an inclusiveness or shared prosperity are part of the game. So the role of the government would be to ensure win-win framework, and it has to be regulated under an agrarian code. So I'm not sure how it is done, but it has just come out. I have to study and research on it. But my idea is that without getting into this conflict at this moment, where the economy is suffering a lot due to pandemic crisis and the migrants workers problem, and the poor are suffering a lot, employment problem, informal sector suffering. The idea is to avoid this conflict, avoid the violence, and better government can educate the farmers. It should work as a gardener, watering every trees like that, as a kind of orchestra conductor, so conducting everything in a harmony, symphony, without creating disharmony. Like in a symphony orchestra, we see that the master conducts with a proper way. So the government role is to make people aware and make it a win-win program. This can be achieved by public program on DD Kisan, radio shows, and agriculture university establishment, and technology extension program, and encouraging private investment, not at the expense of the poor farmers. So I think in that case, this, taking advantage of ENAM, National Agricultural Market, the technology, because India's IT is quite developed, should be good to improve the contract design. So in that case, I would emphasize in this debatable issue about farmers bill, that it is the role of the government that is more important, to have a comprehensive policy on crop diversification, contract farming, which, it is following Gandhi's idea of like all-round development, Sarvada, and village grassroots level development based on trust, the trusteeship. Okay, that's Gandhiji talked about. So Gandhi and Tagore emphasize the role of these aspects. Tagore has the idea of agricultural cooperative. Vishwabharati University represents that. And Sriniketan in West Bengal, in the heart of Birbhum district, is one such thing. So, and also another thing I would mention, that the idea of Charkha movement by Gandhiji is very important in this context. So use of, the Swaraj through spinning. So overall, the idea, I would mention that Gandhiji's idea and Tagore's idea, and also other visionaries' idea, are very much pertinent at this point. And with multiple crises, crippling us, with pandemic and economic crisis, health crisis, and environmental crisis, this philosophy of these big visionaries are very much pertinent at this point, not only in the context of India, but also in the contemporaneous world, as also in the case of South Korea, which is much better place for the unification process, which I think Professor Singh would touch upon. So I'd leave it to Professor Singh on that aspect, Gandhi's role in Korea, because he's an expert in that field. So that is my kind of my idea, that how Gandhi, Tagore, and other visionaries could enable us to ride over this crisis and embrace a better future, not only for Indian economy and all, without having much conflict, violence, which is crippling us at this moment. It's very unfortunate. And as we all, and I should end with a prayer, with in the name of Gandhi, that he blesses us with the virtues of ahimsa in mind, action, and heart. That makes us really great soul, because he was Mahatma. If we want to embrace Mahatma, we also have to become a great soul. Otherwise, we miss the point. So we cannot afford to miss these lofty ideals and philosophy in order to develop and grow economically on a sustained basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Das. You have beautifully connected the relevance of Gandhi in all the socio-political issues. You have covered very wide section. You have covered his relevance in the rising externalities of capitalism, of natural capital erosion of social consciousness, and you have the line which you said that past builds the present and present builds the future. So we have to take that into account, and I hope that we'll be able to walk on the path shown by Gandhi. So you have got two questions from a few of our attendees. One question is very broad in the sense.
Question you take it in the last, Kislay.
Okay. Actually, Mr. Das is about to go, I think. So.
Okay,
Anyways.
let me. I can add it if it's so short. I mean, if Mr. Vyas is okay, I can. I mean, do you mind? I mean, it's up to you. You are in charge.
If you are okay, if you have time, then we can ask it in the end.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe. I mean, let me try. If I could answer. Yeah. Okay.
Because when Dr. Das will speak, he will elaborate the thing.
Yeah. Right.
I see. Okay.
Will 20 minutes. First of all, let us introduce James.
Exactly.
James is a friend of mine. He's in Seoul, and Busan as also he has office. His Indian name is Jatin Bhai. He is very close.
Sorry?
Jatin Bhai.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Close friend of mine and close friend of India also. He is a regular visitor of India, and he has a great love for India. So today I invited him in our conference. Kislay bhai, you introduce him and give him 5 minutes also, because he is also in hurry to go, but he will speak something because he has read autobiography of Gandhi.
Exactly. So we welcome Mr. James An to our okay, yeah, his mic is unmuted, to our talk today, and it is our real pleasure to invite him. And as he is fondly called as Jatin Bhai, so if you don't mind, I will also address him by that name.
Jatin
So
bhai, yeah.
so we would welcome Jatin Bhai here to our talk today. And once again, I would like to introduce him when he's here online. So his academic backgrounds include he is a PhD from University of Cincinnati in Material Science and Engineering. He has attended Poshtech, KAIST, which are one of the topmost universities of Korea. And his professional background includes CEO of Dalim Global Company Limited. He is also the CEO of Soft PV Inc. And he has been CEO of Sun Communication from 2009 to 2017. And he has also worked with LG Chemical. He has been senior advisor for renewable energy at Earther D, Little Korea. So he has got a very impressive background and a profile. So I would invite Mr. James An, Jatin Bhai, to please speak something about Gandhi, and over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. It was my pleasure to join in this webinar today, and I'd like to congratulate the 151st birthday of the late Indian leader Mahatma Gandhi today. Actually, Korea and India separate by considerable geographical distance, yet the two countries have come to share excellent relations. Currently, bilateral relations between two countries are marked by regular exchange of visits, deepening trade, and some kind of investment ties, expanding people-to-people contracts, and growing cooperation on a range of regional international issues. Historically, the bilateral relations between two countries have evolved through the distinct stages over a long period of time. Actually, in the Korean-India relation, date back to very ancient times. According to the Samgung Yusa, it's like a heritage history of the three kingdoms in Korea, written around the 13th century. A princess from the Ayodhya in India came to Korea and married King Kim Suro. Today, there are millions of Koreans who trace their lineage to the Union. Even in the 4th century, Buddhism was introduced in Korea via China. Also, Korean people appreciate for India when the Korean War broken in 1950. India was one of the 22 countries that joined the international airport. Those relations were renewed in the 20th century during the independence movement in both countries. So Indians were trying to throw off the yoke of the British colonialism, while Koreans were striving for independence from the Japanese colonialism. The two people shared sympathy and support for each other. Mahatma Gandhi's principle of the non-violence was a great inspiration for the Korean independence movement. So actually, now I'd like to finish my speech stating the Gandhi's teaching that said, be the change you wish to see. And there is no way to peace, there is only peace. Okay, thank you. Thanks for inviting Himanshu Bhai today.
Thank you, Jatin Bhai and Kislay Bhai. Last year, Rahul Gandhiji and Sam Pitoda visited South Korea. Jatin Bhai had a privilege to have a lunch or dinner with them, I think.
Yeah,
So,
I met.
Yeah.
I met Sam Pitoda one time. Yes.
Thank you very much, Jatin Bhai, to join us.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
So Mr. James An was here. We are really grateful that he was here. And now Professor Das has sent me a message that he would also be leaving. So I think we'll have to drop the questions, but Professor Das is someone who could be available for us on our requests later on as well. So he would be answering to the question of of our attendees later on, because he is really running short on schedule. So we'll have Professor Das. Can you listen? Can you hear?
I think he has left.
Okay, I'll leave. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Professor Das would be also leaving us. So I would like to invite Dr. Lakwinder Singh for his presentation and for his deep insights in regards to India-Korea relation and how Gandhi could be relevant in Korean Peninsula. So over to you, Dr. Singh.
Thank you, Krishna. I'm leaving. Bye. Catch
Okay,
up.
okay, sir. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Kislay Kumar. First of all, I would like to thank you for organizing this event. For me, it's a very important day today. I have been promoting Gandhiji and Gandhi's life in Korea for so many long years. I was a lone soldier, Gandhi's soldier, to try to promote Gandhi's ideas in Korea. But now I have a foot soldier with me, so it's a great day for me. And I want to thank you for taking this to next level. So far, I was trying to promote Gandhiji in Korea only at individual level or institutional level, but now you have taken to a very big level. If we have this kind of support from a political party, then our work become very, very easy in Korea. So I'm feeling very encouraged and as well as feeling very honored. And I also see some great opportunity to do some great work in Korea. I've been living in Korea for 24 years now. I'm one of the oldest Indian scholar in Korea. And the oldest done a lot of work on peace building on Korean Peninsula. So far, I was not getting a good support from India. Not many Indian institutions, scholars, TV channels was not supporting me. But recently, I have been started getting a lot of support from Indian think tanks. So I'm feeling very encouraged. So now, but this step you have taken today is a big step. I think with the support of such a big political party, we can do a lot of things which was so far was not able to do. So I am feeling very, very encouraged and very, very stronger than before. So And second thing I want to say, congratulate. So this is a very big step personally for you. I think you have done a lot of good work with me under our Korea Peace movement, and our institute. You used to join our institute and our movement, our demonstration, and everything. But now you have got a very good platform. I think it will also give you very good opportunity to say what you wanted to say, to do what you wanted to do. So this is a very powerful platform for you personally also. So I want to congratulate you for getting such a powerful institutional support for your work you believe in.
Thank you. Thank you
And
very
I
much.
want to assure you on such a public platform that my blessings and my support will be with you.
Thank you.
You will never feel, you will never find me lacking in anything you do. Okay.
Thanks a
So
lot.
this is a kind of a open promise, an open platform which you are starting today. My blessing, my every with you. Okay. So let's do it again. Let's get it done.
Thank you.
And you know very well. I don't need to tell you. So far, our relationship with Korea is not so good. No. Despite the spinning by our diplomats, there's a lot of potential, a lot of work to be done. I think this new avenue, this new channel provides us a lot of new opportunity. So we can do a lot of good work through this channel. So our officials, our diplomats only provide lip service to a lot of good things which we can do in Korea, and they lack the basic perspective to achieve what we want to achieve. Okay, now coming back to your question, and on Gandhiji and Korea, I will ask a question myself. I'll try to answer it. Why it's not easy to talk about Gandhiji in Korea? Because Korea is everything which Gandhiji told us not to do. Why is so difficult to try to make a career, try to make a life, try to promote a Gandhian values, Gandhian scholar in Korea? Because Korea is what Gandhi told us not to do. Korea has done everything which Gandhi told us not to do. Now, let me tell you, Gandhiji was talking about cottage industry, village industry, but Korea is one of the most highly industrialized countries in the world. Mass industrialization. And Korea, Gandhiji was talking about village republic, but Korea is a highly globalized country. Gandhiji is talking about ends and means, or the ethics in public life. But Korea is a highly materialized society. In this situation, how can Gandhiji is talking about Ramarajya? Here they are talking about a materialistic society. How can you even think about trying to preach Gandhi value when whole country, whole environment is anti-Gandhiji? So it's not easy. But good news is that 3 years ago, when I opened my Korea Peace Movement, only 30-40 people attended our opening ceremony. But now I'm being invited to a lot of public events. Sometimes 300 people come, 400 people come. So people have started listening to us. In the morning, I was invited to another seminar on Gandhiji. I was trying to make the same point that tipping has started. Tipping has started like that. What they have been doing so far is wrong, and Gandhi is the way forward. Even though it's very small, starting 2 to 3%. So we have a lot of area to cover, but now turning back has started. Koreans know that extreme industrialization, extreme globalization, extreme materialistic society, can't go back anywhere. Ultimately, they have come back to Gandhiji. So slowly, I'm feeling encouraged. You have seen in recent years, last 2-3 years, a lot of Korean media have covered me, a lot of Indian media have covered me, international media has covered me. So the work we are doing now is getting the attention of the world media, Korean media, Indian media. A lot of officials are coming in touch with me, talking about just tell us what we can do together. So it's very good. But Gandhi is a future. But many people don't believe it. How globalization, how extreme industrialization, how farmers was Korean farming community was destroyed, how Korean culture was destroyed, how Korean cottage industry was destroyed. Everybody know extreme exploitation of Korean worker, especially women worker, female worker. Everybody know how Korea was industrialized. Everybody know. Only people don't know. They think about big building industry, but background is very, very cruel, extreme exploitation of Korean worker, extreme exploitation of female worker happened. So the so-called industrialization has not come for free. Want to marry my family, nobody want to have children. 75 of Korean girls are refusing to marry. So where we go now? We have to go back to Gandhiji. There's no other option. No way. God-centered society is the only option. Ramarajya. What Gandhi used to say? Korean can call it any name. They can give it any name, but they have to have something like that. I don't want the Korean should call it Ramarajya. They can call it whatever they want to call. But we have to come back to a society where greed is centralized and controlled. Now, our work is not easy, but we can do. We can achieve what we want to achieve. We can achieve what we are set to achieve. In Korea, as you know, the extreme nuclearization. North Korea is full of nuclear weapons. They have already stopped making nuclear weapons because they already have whatever they wanted to know. So we are very close to nuclear war. And Gandhiji told us nuclear war will destroy everything. From day one, he was against nuclearization. And now until we don't follow Gandhi's formula of dispute settlement or conflict resolution, there's no solution to North Korean and South Korean problem. So Gandhi is the only alternative where trust building can happen, where conflict resolution can happen. Until we don't follow Gandhian principle of non-violence and mutual respect for each other and non-nuclearization, there's no hope of solving North Korea's nuclear crisis. Now, who can do that? India is the only country who has strong peace credentials. But unfortunately, our diplomats, our officials are providing only lip service. Only lip service. They don't believe that we have a role in Korea, but we have a big role in Korea. So by opening this kind of new platform, new channel, we have new opening. Now we can achieve what our diplomats are refusing to do. So this is a new alternative for us to be out to take our cooperation, India-Korea cooperation to a new level. India has huge potential in Korea now. But Modi is trying to do in India through these farm bills. Modi can learn some lesson from Korea. Korea provides some lessons. So Modi don't have to do the same mistake again. He can know what happened when this kind of extreme industrialization happened without any proper planning. Now, Modi is trying to push more than 50% of Indian population into urban life without any proper planning. No, he's trying to destroy the base which provides 50% of Indian population through their livelihood. Now, once then this contact farming is introduced, whole base, rural economic base will be destroyed. So he should know what happens when a rural industrial base is destroyed. Korea could accommodate it because Korea was highly industrialized. But so that is why Korea didn't face that kind of mass unemployment. But in India, we will face a mass unemployment because there's no industrialization in the first place. Cheap labor will be created, but there's no proper industry which can absorb all the farmers, all the poor laborers coming from Indian villages. So it is a step in the wrong direction. It is like putting the cart before the horse. So before Modi is trying to do something very wrong. If you have seen my post in the last 3-4 days, I'm trying to tell that this is not the right way to go. Now, only 1 or 2% of Korean population is dependent on farming. And it means if we go South Korean Bay, 99% of Indian farming community have to come to villages. So have to come to cities. Where's the employment for them? Before we take them to villages, cities, we have to do the industrialization first. Contract farming is a very, very destabilizing effect. But we can learn from Korea. Gandhiji, Modi should give a proper look what happens when the extreme industrialization happen at a fast speed. So turning farmers from traders to entrepreneurs is not an easy thing to do. It's a very complicated phenomenon. A lot of unintended consequences happen on the way. Family is crushed, culture is crushed. No, lot of things happen. No, are we ready? No, we are not ready. We can look at Korea. What happened to Korea? No, Korea gave a very prime example. So before we go Korea way, we should learn. We should learn from lessons. What happened when a country ignore some proper safeguards? So we should not immediately blindly this so-called farming bill that looks very attractive, charming, and they are properly framed. So any person who casually reading it, but will be convinced, oh, they're really pro-farmers. But if you properly study them and try to take some example from other countries, you will see how destructive they are. Currently, Korea is going through 4 serious crises. First is a family crisis. Now, in India, if family collapse, what will happen? Our hospital system, we don't have a social insurance system, family system. No, if family collapse, everything collapse. Are we ready for the collapse of family in India? No, we are not ready because the support system is not there. So what will chaos? So we are inviting proper chaos. Are we ready for massive youth unemployment? No, we are not ready. Korea is having a major economic crisis, a major house debt crisis. Now, can we afford that 90% of population under heavy debt? Now, Korea is paying, average Korean paying around 10% of his income only on debt service. Are we ready for that kind of debt crisis in India? No, we are not ready. So, how can we invite this kind of model, economic model, when we are not ready for it? We have to think seriously what we are stepping into it. I strongly feel that Modi ji has introduced the farm bill without properly studying the economics and politics of it. He's in a hurry. I don't know why, who told them, and what are the basic governing principle under these farm bills. But economically and politically, it makes no sense. I don't think he can win political support of the next elections or economic support from the economists. If you properly study this kind of what happened to the economy with this kind of laws, it will not be proper. No, I have not seen anybody, any farming community, any NGO is working in the rural economy cannot support it. Nobody can support it because they are destructive. They will hurt the Indian economy at multiple levels. That is what I'm trying to tell through my writing, through my lectures. We have taken a very wrong direction. You will know very well how much I supported Modi ji when he came to Korea. I organized a very big event for him. I was supporting his local policy, his activist policy. I support even now to some extent I supported his China policy also. So whenever Modi ji do good thing, I'm the first person to support him. But when Modi ji do something like this, there's no way anybody who loves his country, who loves his motherland can support it. No, nobody. They know because all of us are, by the end of the day, all of us are sons of the farmers. Land is very dear to us. We don't want to become landless labor. How can we survive? So that is why most of the NRI community is not supporting the bills. Anybody who has any connection with the village cannot support it. And especially in country like Korea, we know what happens if massive industrialization happened without any proper consideration to social and economic consequences of mass and fast speed industrialization. That's what Modi is trying to do. Some corporate companies are trying to craft bills for him. So how can you ignore the interest of such a huge population? I'm not against development. I'm not against industrialization, but we have to listen to what Gandhi was trying to warn us. This is a region. Gandhi was talking about cottage industry. Gandhi is talking about republic. So anti-globalization is very important point today. globalization. Gandhiji, Nehruji, Modiji are trying to say that farmers should be connected with the whole world. But he just forgot what happened with the globalization. Globalization is not easy. It looks easy, but it has very dangerous consequences for world economy. But Modiji, without properly studying the consequences of globalization, we want to connect our Indian villages with the world economy. He forgot what happens. So globalization is a, and Gandhiji warned us about this 50 years ago, 60 years ago. So he was trying to properly to hint us. But uncontrolled, undisciplined globalization is very, very dangerous and very, very, very unstabilizing. But that time they didn't listen. Now Gandhiji Modiji want to try make our traders and make our farmers connected with the world economy. But he forgot what happens when the village level people are connected with the world wires. It destroys everything. We are not ready. Our country is not ready. Our population is not ready. Our economy is not ready. So Korea presents a very perfect example when we can know what happened when a country ignores basic safeguards to become industrialized society. I'm not personally against industrialized society. I also want development. I also want progress. But we don't need to learn how to make a wheel. We don't need to reinvent a wheel. We can learn from other countries, other economies, which went through before us for fast economic development. Korea was a third world country, 60, 70 years ago. Now they are fast development. So there are important lessons to learn from Korea. Why don't we learn lessons from Korea? Why don't we say what went wrong in Korea? Now, 30, 40 years ago, when I came to Korea, Korea was a miracle on the Han River. I was attracted by Korean prosperity, Korean growth story. I came to Korea with full of dreams, full of opportunity. I was thinking that going to Korea is the best thing to do in my life. But now, after spending so much time, Korean young youth is not so much enthusiastic about Korea. They are calling hell on earth. So they are calling choosing Korea, hell choosing. So why? Mercury on the Han River to hell Korea. So see, transition 30 years, 25 years from a miracle on the Han River, a miracle on the hell on the Han River. See, only 25 years, 2 decades, whole thing is changed. Now Korean youth is leaving Korea. Do we have to do the same thing? No, we cannot go there because we have a huge population. Korea has small population, the youth has a very small number, so they can go to other countries and they are highly educated, so they can find jobs, they can get some other. But
Right.
wherever we have youth in millions, wherever youth will go. So we have to learn lesson from Korea. Korea is a very proper example. Korea has currently 4 crises, All these crises cannot be settled by Korea. If you read my recent article that tells that Korean crises are reconverging each other. It means one crisis cannot be solved without answering the other crisis. So Korea has entered a vicious circle. It means it cannot be broken now.
Right.
It means Korea's population crisis cannot be solved without solving Korea's economic crisis. And Korea's economic crisis cannot be solved without solving Korea's peace crisis. Korea's peace crisis cannot be solved without Korea's climate crisis. So it has all the crises started reinforcing each other. Convergence has started happening. In this kind of situation, it's very difficult for Korea. And if we're not properly careful, we can also slip through this kind of situation. So, so it's time now. So you have come to Korea with a very important time, very proper agenda. Trying to promote Gandhian values in Korea is very good thing to do, because in this way Korean can understand what does it mean to have an alternative way of life.
Exactly. Thank you. Yes.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Singh, yeah, Dr. Singh, we are running out of time. So there are, I would now like to take some concluding remarks from both of our panelists who are present now. So if I may request Himanshu sir to kindly give his concluding remarks, and then there are some questions for Mr. Singh, which I would summarize together, and I would put it up for him as a concluding remarks. So, so could you please unmute your mic, sir? Himanshu sir.
I'm very enlightened to here Dr. Lakwinder Singh ji, who is really very helpful to us for future, because he know each and everything of Korea,
Exactly.
and he being an Indian, he know our thing also very well by his own situation, and he has clearly stated that Korea has gone so much materialistic society. So this is the relevant time to introduce Gandhiji in Korea. And being a party which is ideologically built by Mahatma Gandhi, and still it is working on the ideology of Mahatma Gandhi, this platform will help us to promote the Gandhian ideology, what Dr. Singh suggested. We can start with small thing and it will grow like he said before 50, 60 years, South Korea was also a third world country, and today what it is, it's compared with America. So 2-3 things we have to think on this. We have to create different groups among Indians in different cities of South Korea, where you can take help of Dr. Singh to speak something, give the idea. We can request Gujarat Vidyapit also, which is located in Ahmedabad, to start a small branch over there to give Gandhian education. People would love to join that, I tell you. We are not trying it out. If we try out, people love Gandhi's ideology and they would love to introduce in their lives also. Our leader Rahul Gandhi completely living Gandhian life. His way of life is completely Gandhian. Very simple living. Always connect with the poor people. Always fight for the poor people issue. Always fight for the farmers, students community. So we have to take some interest in starting this ideological movement in South Korea. Today Kislay Kumar will start, and after 20 years someone else will take over. But when it will start, it has a value that somebody has started. Dr. Lakwinder Singh have bought the seeds of this ideology by doing this peace work in South Korea since 24 years. So he is one type of Korean Gandhi, according to me.
Thank you, sir.
Because he has given his life for this movement.
Yes, thank you.
So Indian Overseas Congress have to appreciate and publicize him as a Korean Gandhi.
Thank you, sir.
And
Sure.
I sincerely believe it. When I heard him, he has a pain in his heart that this type of things are happening and we cannot do something. And he is also very happy that Indian Overseas Congress under your leadership has started something. So he can put his idea and pass through the whole thing. And someday I would request Dr. Lafinda Singh to come on our World Indian Overseas Congress Forum, where 22 countries will join. And we will invite you to speak on this.
Thank you, sir. Sure, it will be a very great honor.
That's a very good idea.
Because we need our people who are doing something somewhere in the world. Our people must know that somebody has given his life for this cause. That's what Indian Overseas Congress is all about. Connecting our people, be as an Indian family, do something good. During COVID-19, many of our units have done excellent work, social work for people who are suffering from COVID. In Middle East, in America, in London, everywhere. So today I'm very happy to have guests like Lakwinder Singh ji. Dr. Das has also spoken very well. He has really studied well of Sarvodaya Yojana. He talked about the microeconomy of this farmers' bill. So he has really studied well on this. And I must appreciate that you have a wonderful people in your team to work something for the country. And I also appreciate James also participated and he talked about Gandhian philosophy. So you have to find 100 James in Korea and our work will be done, I tell you. Because there are people, we have to just touch them, point them out, take them in our fold. So we will get enthusiasm to do something for our country. I will not speak much because it's long time and I have also 4 o'clock connecting to Sharjah where Middle East friends are doing Gandhi Jayanti and former Chief Minister Oman Chandiji is also joining from Kerala. So today I have several, then I'll join Bahrain at 7. Then tomorrow morning 6:30 a.m. because second night in America, Rajmohan Gandhi, grandson of Gandhiji, is coming on our meeting, Zoom meeting. So I can send you the link if some of your friends want to join and hear Mahatma Gandhi's grandson, Rajmohan Gandhi, on the Gandhiji thing. So thank you very much again to call me and invite me to join you guys and wish you all the best for coming years and hope this COVID things goes fast away and Korea also does something new to stop it out. But your country has, Korea has definitely done well in this and control things very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your insightful words. And we'll, as you said, that we'll certainly be needing Dr. Singh's guiding principles and his cooperation with us to fan out our ideology in Korea, because he has really done a great work. And I know Dr. Singh since last 4 or 5 years since I was there in Korea. So, and I have quite worked with him over Gandhi and other things, climate change issues and all. He's very active in Korea, and we will certainly be needing Dr. Singh in our organization. And thank you very much for your insightful words too. Now I would like to take concluding remarks for Dr. Singh. There are many questions for Dr. Singh actually. Some questions are a bit broad, so I will.
Kislay, one thing.
Yes, sir.
Today, 2nd October is Lal Bahadur Shastri ji also.
Exactly.
We have to remember him.
Yes.
Because Jai Jawan, Jai Kishan Nara was given by him.
Exactly.
And because of Mahatma Gandhi's thing, sometimes a real Gandhian we forgot. So this is a tribute to Lal Bahadur Shastri ji also today from our side.
Exactly. We pay our tribute to Lal Bahadur Shastri ji as well today. So before proceeding, let me summarize the questions for Dr. Singh. Someone has asked that why India has, even after opening the market in 1990s, Korean companies have not invested so much in India. And the another question is, SEPA is not doing very good. Why SEPA has not been very successful? So basically questions related to economy, because Dr. Singh's, many people over here know that Dr. Singh's expertise is on Korean economy, Korean Indian economy as well. So these are two questions for Dr. Singh. So Dr. Singh, could you kindly conclude with answering these two questions as well as your concluding remarks?
Okay, first I would like to say I feel very humbled. I feel listened after 24 years. I want to thank Himanshu for calling me Korean Gandhi. It touched my heart. when I was in JNU, so many people are looking for some important subject to study, but I choose Gandhiji, I choose Gandhiji. It was not about a job. It was a matter of heart for me, I was not looking for something which can give me job, which can give me some make my career. I was looking for which will make my life, So I studied Gandhiji to make my life, not just make my job opportunity for me, career opportunity. So from the day one, my perspective on Gandhiji is Gandhi can help us to live a life, good life, fulfill life, So that I always tell my student, Gandhi is not about job. When you study Gandhi, you don't look for that Gandhi will provide the job. Gandhi will tell you how to live a good life, how to live a fulfilled life. Gandhi is about life, not about.
Gandhiji always told that मेरा जीवन ही मेरा संदेश है.
Yes.
My life is my message.
Yes, that's true. I always tell my students same thing.
और गांवों की जब बात की तो उन्होंने कहा कि गांव ही भारत का हृदय है.
Yes.
जितना गांव धबकता रहेगा उतना भारत आगे बढ़ेगा.
Yes.
So these are two things which is very relevant today.
Yes.
And I told you Korean Gandhi because when you were speaking, I observed that you were speaking from your heart.
Yes.
It was your feeling. It was your concern. You were not talking about your knowledge only.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Feeling only. It was your heart only. So I sincerely believe what I say.
Yes, that's what I always like. Kislay is very junior to me, but he has helped me a lot of time. He has come to my events. He has come to my, he's just kind of family for me, So whatever he started today, so my blessings and my support is 100% with him, So this is a great day this is a great day for us, for me, because I personally feel this is the way we can achieve what we want to achieve in Korea, So this is a very good day. Now coming back to two questions, which there are many reasons, why Korean companies are not going to India. Because there's a lot of communication gap and reality on the ground. When our policymakers or our diplomats promise to Korean companies, they promise many things. But when the Korean company go to India, actually on the ground, they don't get what was promised. Local officials don't keep the promises made by the policymakers. So there is a huge gap, and Korean bureaucracy, Korean contract system. There's so many issues coming into the way. I agree with you that India has only 700 Korean companies, but Myanmar has 7,000 Korean companies, because things are going wrong at so many levels, at official level, a legal system level, or a practical business level, So if we want to strengthen the India-Korea economic cooperation, we have to have a comprehensive look. For that, we have a proper system. That's what I always said, that we should have a stronger, powerful economic organization in Korea, so that we can create a proper framework which look into the whole issues. So far, we have not properly studied all the problems which are stopping Korean investment to India. Sometimes we try to...
One second to interrupt. Yes, I am also chairman of the Foreign Trade Committee in Gujarat Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, sir.
Your Korean Chamber of Commerce also is in touch with us.
Yes, sir.
What I found is that companies definitely wanted to come here in India.
Yes.
We have reasonable setup in Gujarat to help them out.
Yes.
But what we need is, what also we told Japanese company also, that we will require your training centers in India.
Yes.
South Korea has some big companies like Samsung, LG and all others have to come to India, train our people to work for their company. So that training will help Indian workers to work for Korean company in their culture, in their technology. So it will be very good for them to organize this type of skill development centers in India first. Because today you see, there are many car companies very popular in India of Korea. Hyundai, he has captured a highest market in India, Hyundai. Like Creta and Kia and all these cars are very much popular here. So you should request, if you are in the circle of Korean industrialist and business group, you must tell them to start skill development centers in India of Korean companies. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, Dr.
Sir,
Singh,
unmute yourself.
please unmute yourself.
Yes.
Sorry
Okay.
to interrupt.
Okay, this is very true. I agree with you. You know, problem happened at many levels. As I told you, problem happened at many levels. Same thing is with SIPA. SIPA, when SIPA was signed, as you know, as you see I was there. I was standing next to our ambassador and our foreign minister when the ceremony happened. So I was involved with SIPA from the day one when it was crafted. So a lot of lofty promises were made by Korean side, you know. But when it came to implementation side, Korean side refused to implement them. So there is no mechanism through which we can force Korean to implement all the promises they made. So Korea became basically, SIPA became dysfunctional within 1 or 2 years. So we made a lot of same thing happened. It was crafted very hurriedly. Korea was not ready for free trade with India, you know. So they were very scared of Indian labor, Indian English teachers, Indian services industry. So they was very scared. Korea was not ready, but Korea signed, agreed to do it. But when it came to implementation, they backed off. So it was a responsibility of our diplomat. They should have properly seen through the Korean plan. So that is why Korean got a lot of benefit. Korean got a lot of advantage. They got, for the last few years, Korea's trade surplus grew very fast, and we lost a lot of things. So our officials who were signing the SIPA failed to see through the Korean game plan. That is why something like this should be properly studied. This is a kind of I'm sorry to say, this is a kind of economic war. We have to see what is the opponent trying to achieve through this agreement. Korea was not ready for a services industry, but we try to get it. So they not allow our English teachers, they don't allow our other hotel industry teachers. We failed. Same thing happened with our this economic trade. Now, see, we have promised 50 billion trade by 2030, but now growth rate is only 3%. We think we will achieve our target. No, it will struck something less than 14. I have already said in my articles, 40 billion will be achieved, but nobody paying any attention. Chamber of Commerce, Indian Chamber of Commerce in Korea, which was supposed to be serve Indian interest, is properly being used by Korean company to get services in India. Our interest, Indian interest, is not being served. It's properly, everybody knows, it's in the hands of Korean companies. So we don't properly, if even the Indian Chamber of Industry is not in the hands of Indian companies, then how can we protect our interests? For the last 3-4 years, I'm trying to say, let's have a new economic body, new Chamber of Commerce. So nobody's listening. I want a Chamber of Commerce which is in the hands of Indian companies and it serves the interest of Indians. It is a strategy. We have to make a strategy. But when,
any support for this from India you need, we can organize it.
Okay, sir. I need your support.
We can talk to FICCI also. We can talk to CII also.
Yes,
and
sir.
Gujarat Chamber, if you need help, we can, like in Middle East, we have started a Gujarat Chamber of Commerce branch.
Yes, sir.
All Indian businessmen are there.
Yes, sir, I need it. You help me, we will get a new economic
Whatever
chamber.
you suggest, you tell me, we'll finalize things, no problem.
Yes, sir, we will do it. We will create a new economic organization which serve Indian interest, not Korean interest.
Right.
So this is a strategy. You know, we have to, all the mistake, we must learn some lesson from SIPA. We must learn some lesson from Chamber of Commerce. What happened?
And
why
see, we can give a chance to Korea this time because, you know,
yes,
because of our India-China relationship, there is a big issues in pharma industry.
Yes.
70-80% of pharma raw material APIs,
yes,
we were buying from China.
Yes.
Which Korea can create immediately.
Yes.
because Korea is such an industrialist country, it can immediately adapt things and make things together. So
Yes, I
Korea
agree.
has a great chance. We have invited Japanese company, and Japan has, as a country, decided
Yes.
that in the absence of this Chinese company and relationship with China, they have told their companies to invest in India.
Yes, yes, that's the point. Perfect.
So we have, as an Indian group, we have to influence Korean businessmen that this is the opportunity for you guys to go to India.
Yeah, that is what for the day. If you read my article, my interview, you will see so many years I'm trying to. We have to have a new economic body, new chamber of commerce. Current chamber of commerce is not serving the interest as it was planned. As, yeah, the whole discussion started through my articles, through my interviews. But when the time came to make the chamber, it was overtaken by other people, and then they forgot the bigger picture. Now, whole thing has been distorted. So time has come when we should start talking about building a new economic body in Korea, which serve Indian interest, and then we will take it to next level.
That's
Yes.
good idea.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Exactly. And one more thing which I would like to let all our viewers know today, that in this IOC South Korea, we have also introduced one, we are planning to form one India-Korea business unit that will be solely to help Korean companies to enter India, as well as Indian companies to help Korea if they want to enter. So this was my idea, that we should seriously pursue this unit. And I think Dr. Singh would be very much useful to us for this unit. So am I audible? Am I audible? Hello. Could someone
Economic
please?
body
Yeah.
in Korea. Yes.
Yeah. So, and the failure of Indian Chamber of Commerce, as you said, is very much evident. And I recently attended a webinar where a Korean Chamber of Commerce head in India said that Korea needs India more than India needs Korea. And that is very true.
Yes.
That is
I was
very true.
there. I was there. I was invited to speak. How saw. Huh?
Yes, so that
I
is
made a
very
small
true,
film,
and
yeah.
I really believe that our Indian Overseas Congress South Korean India-Korea business unit could be very much helpful in raising all these issues. And since Himanshu sir has also said that there will be, IOC central team will also be helping us. Himanshu sir is there, so I think this is a really great opportunity for us. And I would like to invite all the stakeholders, all the people who are interested, to please come join and give us your ideas how to do things. What are the problems? We'll try to solve everything all together, and we will try to move the status quo to a better position. So this is all I want to say. And thank you very much to all the attendees and panelists who have attended our talk today. And Himanshu sir has been here for more than 2 hours. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you very much, Lakwinder sir, for your
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Once again, all the best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And
Thank you
all
for the
the-
blessings.
All
I'm
the
so happy to meet you.
participants, I thanks all of them, and it's a great beginning. Let us do something great. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
sir.
sir.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we'll be ending the seminar. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.